A function g x to y is defined where x is set of all real numbers and y is set of all non-negative real numbers. Find whether the following statements are true or false. Now guys, luckily यहाँ पे g of x to y सीधे अपने को दिया हुआ है. That means x is the domain here and y is the codomain. We saw this in the previous class also when we solved a question for number of functions possible, right? So x is basically your domain, which is nothing but set of all real numbers. So x अपना जो x रहेगा normal x axis रहेगा because it consists of all the real numbers. But now the codomain here y is set of all non-negative real numbers. So you don't need to take the y axis beyond or below the origin here, right? So the coordinate axis would be something like this. So this gives you the arrangement of the codomain and the domain. The domain is red x axis and the codomain is non-negative values of y. Okay, based on this, we have to answer whether the following statements are true or false. Let's look at the very first question. If g of x is equal to x square, it is an onto function. Now, guys, remember when we solve this question, just remember we have defined the codomain as set of all non-negative real numbers, right? So here the codomain is nothing but 0 to infinity, right? Okay, ye inclusive. Sorry. Okay, I need to change the bracket here, and we all need to be really very careful about this every time. Okay, and when you talk about y is equal to x square, guys, okay, for y is equal to x square, okay, we would see that the range, okay, the range of the function is what, 0 से लेकर तो infinity जा रहा है ये graph, right? So y is equal to x square का जो range है, it is same as the codomain that we have assumed, right? That means this is an onto function. The statement is definitely true. Are we understanding this? Let's look at the next question, guys. If g of x is equal to 10 raised to x, it is an onto function. Okay, now if you draw the graph of gx, it will be something like this. Okay, as in when you increase the value of x, okay, it will be like going on increasing. Okay, but if you take the value of x which is negative, 10 raised to minus 1, 10 raised to minus 2, so basically क्या होगा, 10 raised to minus 2 क्या होता है, 1 by 100, 10 raised to minus 1 is 1 by 10. So the value of x is like y is very 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 small, 0.01, 0.001. Okay, then 0. Okay, then 0.5, 0.6, फिर धीरे धीरे बढ़ेगा. ओके, बट अंडरस्टैंड गाइस, ओके, आप x की यहाँ कोई भी वैल्यू पुट कर लो. ओके, x की अगर हमने वैल्यू 0 पुट कर ली, ओके, यहाँ पे, ओके, बट इन दिस केस द वैल्यू ऑफ y विल नॉट बी इक्वल टू 0, राइट? बिकॉज गाइस, फॉर y टू बी इक्वल टू 0, g ऑफ x यहाँ पे 0 होना चाहिए. दैट्स नथिंग बट 10 रेज टू x. ऐसी कोई वैल्यू नहीं है x की दैट विल मेक दिस पार्ट एज 0, राइट? दैट मीन्स from the codomain that you assumed as 0 to infinity, okay, there is one value the function will not assume in the codomain, that is 0, and that's why it is an into function. ये लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं? Onto. It's a false statement. All right. Now let's go on to the next part, guys. In the next part, the next question will tell you that g of x is equal to mod x. It is an into function. Again, mod x के लिए भी, okay, your range will be 0 से लेके infinity. If you can observe, least value यहाँ होगी इसकी 0, and धीरे धीरे increase होके it will go to infinity, right? And your codomain also you have assumed here as 0 to infinity, isn't it? So yes, the range is equal to codomain. In this case, it's an onto function. The question says into, false. Okay, last one. If g of x is equal to 1 upon mod x, it is an into function. Okay, let's try to plot the graph of 1 by mod x. It will be a rectangular hyperbola, something like this. Okay, guys. Again, if you observe carefully, for g of x to be equal to 0, 1 upon mod x is equal to 0. Okay, 1 upon mod x is equal to 0 कब होगा? When basically mod x is not defined, right? तभी तो उसका inverse 0 होगा, right? Okay, but this is not possible, right? Again, that means in the codomain that you have assumed as 0 to infinity, there is one value the function does not assume, which is 0, right? And that is why of all the values of the codomain, one value it is not being assumed. So range is a part or subset of the codomain. That's why it's an into function, right? And the statement is definitely true.